Gold of the Desert, the full story of date palm farming. In the Coachella Valley of California, where summer temperatures routinely exceed 115 degrees Fahrenheit and the desert air is dry enough to crack the lips of anyone who steps outside unprepared, something extraordinary happens every autumn. Clusters of dates, some still on the tree, some already cut and drying, hang in the heavy warmth. And the workers who harvest them climb to heights of 20 meters and more to reach fruit that has been developing since spring. The date palm, Phoenix dactylifera, is one of the oldest cultivated plants in human history, a tree that has been managed by human beings for more than 5,000 years, and that in 2026 produces more than 8 million tons of fruit annually across the arid and semi-arid regions where it thrives. The Middle East and North Africa account for the vast majority of global production, with Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Algeria, and Iraq among the largest producers. But the United States, specifically California's Coachella Valley and Arizona's Salt River Valley, produces dates of exceptional quality that command premium prices in domestic and international markets. And the agricultural systems that support this production represent one of the more remarkable examples of human ingenuity applied to making a desert productive. The journey of a date from the point where a farmer climbs a 20-meter palm to cut a cluster weighing several kilograms to the sealed, labeled package on a grocery shelf involves careful horticultural management across years of tree development, precise pollination conducted by hand, months of fruit protection and thinning, and a post-harvest processing sequence that determines the quality of the final product. This is that journey in full. The date palm is among the most productive food plants known to agriculture when measured in terms of caloric output per unit of land in the conditions where it can grow, which is to say, hot, arid environments where most other food plants cannot survive productively at all. A mature date palm in optimal conditions can produce between 70 and 140 kilograms of fruit per year for periods of 50 to 100 years or more, making it an extraordinarily long-lived investment for the farmers who establish it. This longevity is part of why date farming has historically been organized around permanent tree populations maintained across generations rather than the annual planting cycles that characterize most food crop production. The world's major date-producing countries form a geographic band through the Middle East and North Africa, where the combination of extreme heat, intense sunshine, low humidity during harvest season, and available water for irrigation creates the conditions the date palm requires to produce fruit of high quality. Iraq, which has been called the land of dates and whose Basra date trade is documented across several millennia of recorded history, remains one of the world's largest producers despite the significant disruption that decades of conflict caused to its date farming infrastructure. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Iran each produce several million tons annually with varieties that range widely in texture, sweetness, and moisture content. In 2026, global production continues to expand as new plantings in emerging producing countries including Algeria, Sudan, and Pakistan reach maturity, and as established producers adopt production technologies that improve yield and quality. The United States market for dates, which imports substantial quantities primarily from Tunisia, Israel, and other Middle Eastern sources to supplement domestic California production, has grown as consumer awareness of dates as a nutritional food has increased. Date farming at commercial scale combines the deep horticultural knowledge that managing a long-lived tree crop demands with the physical courage and technical skill required to work safely at heights that most agricultural work does not approach. A date palm that has been productive for decades reaches heights of 15 to 25 meters, and the workers who harvest its fruit pollinate its flowers, prune its fronds, and protect its developing clusters do this work in temperatures that would be prohibitive for most outdoor labor in most parts of the world. In the Coachella Valley, harvest season runs from September through December, and daytime temperatures during September and October can still exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit regularly. The harvest workers who climb traditional date palms using techniques that have changed relatively little in their fundamentals across several 1,000 years of date cultivation face a combination of physical demands that make date harvest one of the more hazardous agricultural occupations in existence. Date palms provide few natural handholds, and their trunks are covered with the rough bases of old frond stumps that provide grip but also create the risk of cuts and abrasions. The weight of a full date cluster, which can exceed 10 kilograms, adds to the load that climbers must manage while maintaining their position on the trunk. Personal protective equipment, safety harnesses, helmets, non-slip footwear has improved the safety profile of traditional climbing, but cannot fully eliminate the risk inherent in working at 20-meter heights in extreme heat. In 2026, mechanical lifting platforms that extend to heights of 10 to 20 meters are increasingly used on well-capitalized operations, allowing workers to reach fruit clusters from a stable elevated platform rather than by climbing the trunk directly. These systems substantially reduce the risk of falls while improving the speed and consistency of harvest operations, but they require the flat, cleared ground conditions that older orchard layouts do not always provide. The agronomists, horticulturists, and farm managers who oversee date operations bring specialized knowledge of date palm physiology, water management in desert conditions, and the specific requirements of different date varieties that takes years to develop through direct observation and experience. The production cycle of a commercial date operation begins with propagation, and the choice between seed propagation and vegetative propagation defines the character of the resulting trees in ways with significant commercial consequences. Date palms grown from seed are genetically variable. Each seedling is a unique individual whose fruit characteristics cannot be predicted reliably from the parent, and approximately half of seed-grown trees are male, producing pollen but no fruit. Commercial operations therefore rely almost exclusively on vegetative propagation through offshoots, which are lateral shoots that develop at the base of the palm and can be separated when they have developed sufficient root systems to survive transplanting. An offshoot from a known high-yielding female variety will produce trees identical in their genetic characteristics to the parent, ensuring the consistency of variety that commercial production requires. Nurseries that specialize in date palm propagation maintain populations of elite mother palms from which offshoots are harvested and grown to transplantable size in controlled nursery conditions. Trees are typically planted at spacings of 8 to 10 meters in each direction wide enough to allow adequate airflow and light penetration through the canopy as the trees mature, and to allow the equipment used for irrigation, fertilization, and harvest to move through the orchard. Water management is the central operational challenge of date farming in arid regions, where the combination of high temperatures, low rainfall, and the palm's substantial water requirements makes irrigation both essential and expensive. A mature date palm requires between 80 and 150 liters of water per day during the growing season in desert conditions, more than most tree crops grown in similar climates. Reflecting both the palm's large leaf area and its high metabolic activity during fruit development. Drip irrigation systems that deliver water directly to the root zone are the standard on modern commercial operations, substantially reducing the total water application compared to flood irrigation methods while maintaining adequate soil moisture throughout the root profile. The date palm is dioecious, meaning individual trees are either male or female, with male trees producing pollen and female trees producing fruit. Natural pollination by wind is unreliable in commercial orchards, both because the ratio of male to female trees in managed plantations is deliberately low, typically one male for every 25 to 50 female trees, and because wind dispersal of pollen is inconsistent in the calm, air conditions that often characterize desert mornings during the flowering period. Commercial date production therefore relies on hand pollination, in which pollen collected from male flowers is applied directly to female flowers at the moment when the female flowers are receptive. This process, which involves separating the female flower clusters, inserting pollen-bearing male flower strands among them, and then tying the clusters together to maintain contact, must be completed within a narrow window when the female flowers are at peak receptivity, typically lasting only a few days. Farmers who manage large orchards must monitor flowering progression across all their trees and mobilize sufficient labor to complete pollination across the entire orchard within the appropriate time frame. The quality of pollination directly affects fruit, set the proportion of flowers that develop into mature fruit, and therefore the yield of the harvest. After pollination, the developing fruit clusters undergo several months of growth, during which farmers may thin the clusters, removing some fruit to allow the remainder to receive more nutrients and develop to larger size, and protect the developing fruit from rain, birds, and insects by covering the clusters with paper or cloth bags. Green dates on the tree are dark green, small, and hard, with high acid content and little sweetness. The transition through the kalal stage, when the fruit is full-sized but still firm, with high sugar content and a crisp texture, and then to the rutab stage, when the fruit begins to soften and darken, and finally to the tamara stage, when the fruit is fully ripe and is dried partially on the tree, determines both the harvest timing and the final product characteristics. The date palm's significance in 2026 extends well beyond its status as a luxury food item or a specialty agricultural product. In the arid and semi-arid regions where most of the world's dates are produced, the date palm has historically been the foundational agricultural resource, the crop that made permanent settlement possible in environments that could not otherwise sustain agricultural communities. The palm's ability to produce substantial caloric yields in conditions of extreme heat and minimal rainfall, combined with its tolerance for saline soils and its capacity to use water efficiently relative to its caloric output, made it the primary food security crop of the desert belt from Morocco to Pakistan for several thousand years. This legacy remains relevant in 2026 as climate change is expanding the geographic area, experiencing the arid conditions in which date palms are productive, while simultaneously threatening the water resources on which date irrigation depends. Nutritionally, dates are among the most calorically dense whole foods available. A 100-gram serving of dried dates provides approximately 277 calories, 75 grams of carbohydrates, 7 grams of fiber, and meaningful quantities of potassium, magnesium, vitamin B6, iron, and manganese. The high sugar content that makes dates an excellent energy food has also attracted interest from food processors who use date paste, date syrup, and date powder as natural sweeteners in applications ranging from energy bars and baked goods to baby food and sports nutrition products. This processed ingredient market has expanded substantially in 2026 as consumer interest in natural sugar alternatives to refined sucrose and high fructose corn syrup has driven demand for date-derived sweeteners and clean-label food products. The economic significance of date production in major producing countries is substantial. In many communities in rural North Africa and the Middle East, the date harvest is the most economically significant event of the agricultural year, and the income it generates sustains households through the remainder of the year. Date farming in 2026 faces a set of pressures that are reshaping who can afford to grow dates, how they are grown, and what happens to the traditional farming communities whose relationship with the date palm extends across generations. Water scarcity is the most acute operational threat. Groundwater depletion in the major date-producing regions of California, Saudi Arabia, and North Africa is reducing the availability of irrigation water at a rate that exceeds natural recharge in many areas, and the costs of pumping water from increasing depths are rising consistently. California's Coachella Valley, where the Colorado River Aqueduct and groundwater are the primary water sources for date production, faces long-term water supply uncertainty that is affecting investment decisions for new plantings and orchard expansion. In the Middle East, where freshwater resources are limited and per capita water availability is among the lowest in the world, the water demand of date irrigation substantial even when conducted efficiently is a persistent policy tension. The red palm weevil is a destructive pest that is spread across date-producing regions from Asia to Africa and the Americas, causing significant losses in established orchards where larvae bore into the palm trunk and eventually kill the tree. Early detection through pheromone-based trap monitoring and treatment through insecticide application or biological control with entomopathogenic nematodes are the primary management tools available in 2026, but the weevil's ability to travel on contaminated planting material and the difficulty of detecting early infestations before damage is severe make it a persistent threat. Climate change is creating a different category of pressure by shifting the temperature and rainfall patterns in traditional date-producing regions in ways that affect both date quality and palm health. Unexpected rainfall during the harvest period, when date clusters should be exposed to dry heat, can cause fruit to ferment on the tree, destroying an entire season's crop. Higher nighttime temperatures in some regions may be affecting the sugar accumulation process that determines fruit quality. The date palm's relationship with human civilization is one of the longest and most consequential in the history of agriculture. Archaeological evidence from Mesopotamia, the region of modern Iraq between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, places date palm cultivation at least 5,000 years before the present, with some interpretations of the evidence pushing the timeline of managed date used several thousand years further back still. The ancient Sumerians, whose civilization emerged in southern Mesopotamia in the 4th millennium BCC, left extensive records of date palm cultivation and date trading that document both the agricultural techniques used to manage the palms and the economic and dietary importance of dates in the region. The date palm appears in the religious and literary traditions of every major civilization that developed in the Middle East and North Africa, from ancient Egypt, where dates were offered as burial goods and the palm frond was a symbol of long life, to the Hebrew Bible, where date palms are among the most frequently mentioned plants, to the Quran, where the date palm is specifically mentioned as one of the blessed plants provided by God. This religious significance reflects the date palm's practical importance as a food security crop in environments where alternatives were limited. The introduction of date palm cultivation to the Western Hemisphere came through Spanish missionaries who brought the plant to Baja California in the late 18th century, establishing the foundations of what would eventually become the Coachella Valley's date industry. American date cultivation expanded significantly in the early 20th century as the United States Department of Agriculture imported germplasm from the Middle East, testing varieties under California and Arizona conditions to identify those best suited to Western American growing environments. The Medjool variety, now the premium commercial variety, whose large size, soft texture, and rich caramel flavor make it the most valuable date on the American market, was brought to the United States from Morocco in 1927 when Ouzda plant explorers obtained offshoots from the Bou Dinab oasis after the variety was threatened by a disease outbreak affecting Moroccan date populations. In 2026, the date industry is being shaped by a convergence of technological innovation, market evolution, and environmental pressure that is driving significant change in how dates are grown, harvested, and used. Tissue culture propagation, the laboratory-based technique of generating new plants from small tissue samples under sterile conditions, has matured in the date palm context to the point where certified disease-free planting material from elite varieties can be produced at scale and made available to growers at costs that are competitive with traditional offshoot propagation. This technology has significant implications for the genetics of commercial date production, making it possible to multiply elite selections more rapidly and to produce disease-free planting stock for regions where traditional offshoots might carry pest or pathogen risks. Drone technology is finding applications in date orchard management in 2026. From the spraying of pesticides and fungicides, enabling more uniform coverage of the canopy at heights that ground-based equipment cannot easily access, to the monitoring of canopy health through multispectral imaging that can detect early signs of nutrient deficiency, water stress, or disease before they become visible to ground-level inspection. The precision agriculture data generated by these monitoring systems is being integrated with irrigation controls and fertilizer application systems to reduce input costs while maintaining or improving yield and quality. The natural sweetener market continues to expand, driven by consumer demand for clean label products and by regulatory and consumer pressure on refined sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Date paste, date syrup, and date powder are established ingredients in this market in 2026, and the development of novel date-derived ingredients including date fiber concentrates for food fortification applications and date seed oil for cosmetic use is expanding the range of value-added products that date processing operations can produce. There is a quality of patience embedded in date farming that has no parallel in most modern agricultural practice. The farmer who plants a date palm offshoot today is planting for a timeline that extends 4 to 8 years before the first significant fruit production and potentially a century before the tree's productive life concludes. This is not the patience of waiting for a difficult project to finish. It is the patience of investing in something that will outlast the investor, that will serve purposes not yet imagined by people not yet born, that will accumulate value in the form of deep root systems, established canopy structure, and the compounded biological knowledge of a tree that knows its specific piece of ground across a timeline that no annual or even perennial crop approaches. The date palm's longevity is why the Arab world has a proverb that says a date palm planted by a grandfather will be harvested by a grandchild. In 2026, when most agricultural investment decisions are evaluated on timelines of years rather than decades, the date farmer's relationship with their trees represents a form of commitment to the long term that the broader food system would benefit from understanding more clearly. In 2026, the date palm is simultaneously a crop with a 5,000-year history of human management, and a crop whose future is genuinely uncertain in many of the regions where it has been most important. Water scarcity, pest pressure, climate variability, and the economic pressures of a global commodity market are all bearing down on farming communities whose relationship with the date palm is measured in generations rather than business cycles. The premium that Western consumers pay for Medjool dates the California, variety that commands prices per kilogram that would be inconceivable for. Most agricultural commodities flows back through a supply chain that in California supports relatively well-capitalized operations, but in the Middle East and North Africa supports farming communities operating with far fewer resources and far less economic security. The next time a date is eaten, whether as a snack, as a natural sweetener in a smoothie, or as an ingredient in a recipe that describes it as a superfood, it might be worth considering the full timeline it represents. A tree that was planted perhaps decades ago in conditions that most people would find uninhabitable. A farmer who climbed to 20 meters in summer heat to pollinate its flowers by hand. A harvest worker who cut its fruit clusters and carried them down through conditions that most agricultural safety standards would not permit. And behind all of that, 5,000 years of human effort to make one of the world's most difficult environments productive. What does that history ask of the person at the end of the supply chain? And what would it mean to respond to that asking seriously?